MedBest, the podcast where we explore senior living careers, staff retention, and creative employee engagement strategies with the best of our industry. I'm Nady.
And I'm Amy. We are super excited to share with you the best of what our industry has to offer, and we hope that we can help you build and retain your team. Today, we're excited to talk to Julie Rupenski, the owner and CEO of MedBest. And let me tell you guys how I met Julie. It goes back a handful of years ago. I was a teacher, not making enough money, cleaning houses on the side, and I was cleaning my now CEO and boss's house. Can you believe that? That is how I got started at MedBest. I was just simply cleaning her house, and she put some faith in me, and here I am.
That's awesome. Well, that's funny. I met Julie almost 13 years ago now, fresh out of USF in a group interview, scared out of my mind. But I guess we both cleaned up the competition, Amy. Sweep it out of there. Before we dive in, a quick thank you to our listeners for joining us. We really appreciate it. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it, please.
Yep. Awesome. Well, anyway, let me introduce to you all Julie Rupenski. Like I said, she is the owner and founder of MedBest. Julie has worked in our industry previously, and at the time she saw there was a need for better recruiters in our space. So Julie, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Awesome. We're really excited to have you on, Julie. It really means a lot to us that you humored us with allowing us to try the podcast.
Well, it's my first one. I've watched a lot of podcasts. This is my first time on a podcast, but let's go.
Absolutely.
You get right in. None of us know what we're doing over here.
We're flying by the seat of our pants.
All right.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey into senior living and nursing homes? How did you get started?
Yes. When I was in high school, I was 15 and I needed a job, and the only local place that would hire anybody that was not 16 was a nursing home. So I started off in the dietary department, waiting on people and washing dishes. And I was there for 3 years and fell in love with the Alzheimer's patient, the dementia patient. And I knew then I wanted to make a difference. I saw some things that I thought could be better. And that's how I ended up majoring in gerontology and becoming an operator for many years, for 15 years. Then, progressed into recruiting.
That's amazing. So you knew fresh out of high school that this is what you wanted to do.
Well, it took me a few years. At first, the dementia patients when you're in high school are kind of scary. But then when you got to know them and, it became very endearing to me, and I really want to make a difference.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
Well, I have some other questions actually, Julie, for you. But before we move forward, what was the first nursing home you worked at?
First nursing home I worked at, I was an intern at Greenbrook Nursing Home in St. Petersburg, Florida. That was the first internship. When I decided I wanted to become a nursing home administrator, I got a job in Thanona-Sassa at a nursing home as a CNA for one summer. And that's when I truly appreciate what CNAs do for our industry. I did that for 3 months. So I guess that was the first one as I was getting my degree. But then after that, I was with Unicare in an internship in St. Petersburg.
Okay. Julie loves to tell us about how she was kind of a tough ass administrator. Is that true, Julie?
I don't think I was a hard ass. I actually, the way I gained respect, because I was so young, I was 24, and because I'd had that CNA position, I think the way I gained respect is I was out when we were short. I was out there making beds, helping residents, answering call lights. And I think as a young administrator, and my first home as an administrator was in a really tough area. They were facing moratorium. The way I gained respect for that staff was actually by helping them.
I love hearing that you were a younger administrator, because that's definitely something that we encounter now as we navigate the job market, like getting these younger, newer administrators into these leadership roles. So you're like the proof in the pudding that it can work and you can be successful even at 24.
Well, I think what we need to look at as an industry with these young administrators, their heart and soul is in it, and they have lots of energy to work lots of hours. And sometimes we know that's what it takes.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Maybe anything else you want to visit regarding Julie Start before I keep moving forward with recruitment?
Absolutely. I have a question.
Uh-huh.
So let's say that there's someone watching this podcast
Right.
and they're thinking about becoming an administrator. What advice would you give them?
It's a great field. I mean, the reason it's a good industry is you learn so much about everything. To be a good administrator, you have to be a good people person. You have to be a good manager, a good leader. You have to be in sales. You have to be like sales, because you have to fill your building in order to get what you need to get for your patients. You have to be a politician with the families that come in that are upset. You have to know about food in the dietary department. You need to know about maintenance and life safety, and you get to wear many, many hats. So that job prepares you for anything you want to do in life. My mentor said something at one point. It goes, Julie, if you can be a good nursing home administrator, there's nothing you can't do, because it's so challenging. We're one of the most regulated industries in the United States. So it's a great field. Is it hard work? Absolutely. But it gave me the knowledge to own my own business, so here we are.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Sounds like it's a good industry to.
Yeah, and I love the humble beginning and the honesty behind your story, Julie. So thanks for sharing that with the people.
Okay.
So Julie, we do know, let's transition a bit here. We know our industry is struggling with attracting and keeping top talent these days. And with all of your years in senior living and long-term care, and now in the recruitment space, MedBest has been around for 24, going on 25 years. What would you say are the top 3 strategies you'd recommend for hiring and retention talent, or talent retention at the communities, the facilities, and within the senior living companies?
You do want to have a competitive salary and competitive benefits, because that is important, especially in this day and age when, inflation is so high. So that is important. But as far as retaining staff and getting a good reputation for your company to where people want to come work for you, you have to remember one thing. This is healthcare. This and the senior housing side, these are communities where people live. We are here, number one, to care for our residents. And keeping that at the forefront makes you better business people, because you're going to make sure your staff have enough supplies, they have the funds, they have the appropriate funds that they need to run a good building. And I think that I'll give you an example. We have a client that's been our client for many years. It was actually my very first client. They do something that is amazing to me. We're here in Florida where there are hurricanes. And when there's a hurricane heading for their community, the VPs, the regionals, the COO, the CNO are there, helping them prepare. Most companies don't do that. There are some companies where I've heard some stories where you can't even get a hold of the owner. If you have issues with generators or issues with evacuating, you're on your own. I think that speaks volumes to your staff. And I've always had the philosophy, when I used to run communities, put the care first and the money and the business will come. And it works. Because you have lower turnover, you have better care results. It may take more spending initially to get there, but with those principles in mind, you are going to attract staff. People are going to know that you have a good reputation, and they're going to want to work for you. Because remember, the reason people get into this industry is because they want to help our elderly. And if they don't have the resources to do so, they're going to move on, because there's plenty of opportunity out there.
Yeah. Do you remember from your time as an administrator anything you ever did to keep, like, maybe you had someone on the edge and they were ready to leave? How did you save them?
I used to do something. We had morning meetings every morning, and I would take all my department heads out of the building on a regular basis. I would say once every 2 months to get them know them personally. As far as somebody on the edge of leaving, sometimes it's for money, and you have to go to your corporate office and say, hey, can we get this person more? Well, I remember I used to pay my director of therapy more than me, because back in those days they were hard to find a good therapist, and they'd walk out the door at 4 o'clock while I was still there at 6.
Mhm.
But you do what you do. You have to not have an ego, I think, to be a good leader. So I don't know if I answered your question or not, but if
Yeah.
it was somebody that I wanted to save, I would go to bat no matter what to try to save them.
Yeah. Hearing you mention having to pay your therapy people more than what you were making, it makes me think right now about the challenges with clinical leadership that we're all facing. And we know there are DONs out there who are getting paid more than their administrators. And I admire the leaders like that who are willing to drop the ego and really do what it takes to get the right people in their building to do the right thing.
Yes, because the DON job is harder than the administrator's job. In most cases, that is the most difficult job in the building. And I think we have to recognize that and give those DONs the support, not just financially, but the support that they need to run a good show.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any recognition programs that you created while you were an administrator?
I'm having to think. We had something called the STAR program or Superstar program, and it was in a big. We had an independent living, we had assisted living, and we had nursing homes. And we put everybody through a training program first. It was kind of like the Ritz-Carlton program where you train to give customer service, and you're trained to really go above and beyond. And the residents then could put in a ticket for somebody to put in a recommendation. And at the end of the year, we sent people on trips, like whoever the winners were on major trips. We also had like a big dinner celebrating it. We had, what's the Selma Expressway? What's the football player's name?
Leroy Selman?
Leroy Selman. He
Nice.
came and spoke at 2 of our, you get somebody that the staff looks up to, and they come and they speak. We actually paid Leroy to come speak to our whole team, and that went over really well. But it was in celebration that they'd all gone through this training, and it was all about customer service. And then we recognized the top performers, and that really went a long way.
That's really cool. What about for you? Is there anything that a manager or owner ever did for you that really stands out, that makes you remember?
I always work for leaders that would provide, what I'm saying, that they would go to bat for me to make sure that I had what I needed, because, you got corporate, which, is a little more detached, and then you're an administrator, so you depend on your regional go to bat for you. And that usually happened. Because I performed, first of all, when you get those courses, you have to be a top performer. And then you get, then people believe in you, and they will give you the support that they need. As far as, an individual, Scott Clark was my mentor, who's now passed away. He taught me everything I know. So he stands out more to me than anyone else.
That's awesome. Well, you stand out for us, Amy, and to Julie. Do you have any other questions about that for Julie, Amy?
No, I don't think so. I'm curious to hear about the start of MedBest, right?
Yeah, absolutely. What made you decide to start a recruiting firm specifically for this industry?
All right. Well, my goal, I had all these huge goals when I was in my 20s. And one of them was to be a president of a nursing home company or the president of an assisted living company or an owner. And then I had my son 29 years ago. And I just knew, that road was going to be a tough one because you want to be home for your kids. So I had actually met somebody through church who owned a recruiting firm. And I thought, wow, I have a lot of contacts. This is something I could do. And, with recruiting, you either hate it or love it, because it's a lot of phone work and some people don't like it. I stepped into it and immediately loved it. And I was able to be at home with my then small child. And that's what really motivated me because I wanted the quality of life. But I also wanted to stay in the industry and use all the knowledge that I had learned. At that point, I'd worked in the industry for 15 years, both in nursing homes and assisted living and one, CCRC. And I also had worked for a company that I was a regional operations person for a company that provided nurse practitioners all throughout the state of Florida. So with all that knowledge, I was able to, translate that into being a recruiter. I had tried using recruiters prior to that, and because my boss made me, I was trying to find a DON, and the resumes that they were sending me were just not, they had a lot of turnover. They just really weren't sending quality. And I thought, wow, I have a lot of knowledge about this industry. I think I could be different than this recruiter. And, here we are.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What a leap of faith, right? To go from one industry and then take that industry's knowledge and then create your own company and move forward with it. That's amazing. Pretty inspirational.
And we still uphold those standards. I know, and I'm hearing you say this, Julie, like there are recruiters out there that just shove resumes in front of people and, they don't get to know their candidates. They're not truly consulting their clients. And, our team at MedBest, we are trained to be consultants and really understand the client, the building, the team, the need, because we do want to make that impact for them. We want to make sure we're putting the right person in there.
Well, I run this firm exactly how I used to run nursing homes, right? I used to, if you put care first, you put quality first, you give your team the resources, you'll be a star. And so I've always thought the same thing here. If we do right by our clients and our candidates, making sure they don't take a move that we don't think they're going to be happy at, if you put that first, instead of just selling everybody on this opportunity so you can get a fee. That's why I like to hire administrators, because they're not salespeople, they're problem solvers. Not everybody on our team are administrators, but that was my background. So we have a strong desire by nature to try to solve problems, not just sell a resume or sell a candidate. And I think because we've stuck by that for almost 25 years, it's going to be 25 next year. That is why we're still here, we're still strong, and we're growing.
Absolutely. And I can attest, Julie, to what you're saying about giving your staff what they need to get the job done. Like, you've always given us any training that we've asked for. If we want to go to a conference, if we want to do something crazy, like, I don't know, start a podcast, right?
Like a podcast. Yeah, everybody's like, why do we need a podcast? So you're right. I begrudgingly agree.
But I think what's great about it is it makes us feel heard here, right? And so that gives us, more of a, we got to stick with Julie, right? Because Julie always sticks with us. It's kind of that kind of feeling. So I think that's why you've been so successful as an administrator and now as a business owner.
Well, I think some of our corporations, if they do in the new employment era with the new generations, we have to change our management style. We have to be, more listening more than back in the olden days, probably. It will go a long way.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I do think
And
that's definitely what helps us set ourselves apart. I mean, it's evident we have really intense, I don't know if intense, or really great tenure here at the team, right? Nadie, how long have you been with MedBest now?
it'll be 13 years this June.
That's intense. That's a long time. 13
It is.
years. I love it. I've
It
been here
is,
7 years now, and
which
it's
is
flown
great.
past. I can't believe it's already been 7 years.
We just said goodbye to Barbara Lawal. She finally retired after 17 years.
Which is amazing.
Wow.
Barbara, we miss you
Yes,
always.
she's the best. We love you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you have amazing tenure here, which I guess kind of makes my job as an HR person easier. So thanks. But yeah, I mean the ability to retain our staff and even attract people to our company because they know, oh, well, we'll be working with Julie Rupenski. Yeah, I want to work with Julie, right?
Yeah, and before we continue, we're going to go into a quick advertisement. Well, here's the really cool thing. As a vendor in this industry, we know how important it is to get our voices out there.
Yeah, and we don't just want to have our ads on here all the time. This podcast is for everyone, so that would be kind of rude if we kept it all to ourselves.
Well, yeah, let's share the love. So if you're a company or an association or any sort of vendor to the senior living or senior healthcare space, and you want a little shout out here, just reach out to us. We will put your recording here on the podcast, and we can just read it off a script, no cost to you, or you can read it for us, whatever makes sense. And here's what one is going to sound like coming to you from Nadie.
This episode is brought to you by MedBest, an award-winning executive search firm exclusively serving the senior living and long-term care industry for over 24 years. MedBest specializes in filling both permanent and interim executive positions, leveraging unparalleled industry expertise. Their founder and CEO, Julie Rupenski, along with her leadership team, come directly from the senior living and long-term care sector, having held key roles in operations and management. Julie's firsthand experience as an operator revealed a critical need for skilled executive recruitment, inspiring her to establish MedBest to bridge that gap. If you're looking for top-tier leadership talent tailored to the needs of senior care, trust MedBest to deliver the right fit. Learn more at medbest.com. Now back to our guest.
So Julie, is there anything else before we wrap up that you wanted to share with people about the podcast or your goals for the podcast and anything upcoming?
I'm really excited about the podcast now. I think if we get some industry leaders on here and interview them on their best practices, it's going to really help our industry, not just our clients, but also people that are interested in this wonderful industry. And that, I think, should be the goal of the podcast.
Yeah. We want to give everyone the best, and we have the best to offer with you, the best to offer with other operators, the best to offer with candidates, etc. Everyone out there.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Cool. Well, is that all the time we have? I think we've been talking for 25 minutes or so. We're on goal. We're on target here.
Yes, we're on goal.
Love it.
Awesome. Well, Julie, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insights. We really appreciate your time. And to our listeners, thank you so much for listening in. Be sure to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Let us know if you have any questions about our industry or even maybe about recruiting. Ooh, get some secrets there. Until then, take care and keep giving your best to our seniors. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.